Good morning, PT on Ice Daily Show. Happy Tuesday morning. Hope everybody's having a great Tuesday so far. Coming at you for Clinical Tuesday today. My name is Alan, COO of Ice, faculty member for our Fitness Athlete Division here on Facebook, here on Instagram. If you're on Instagram, I apologize. I'm using my tripod. I can't see your questions or comments. Before we get started with our talk today about wrist extension, check out Facebook, check out Instagram. We just dropped a new t-shirt, something you all will probably be very happy with. It's selling like hotcakes. Ask your doctor if getting off your ass is right for you, the t-shirt. So check that out. Good morning, Kelsey. See you there on Facebook. Coming up next weekend, join me and Mitch down in Arkansas for Fitness Athlete Live. That's going to be a great time down there at Next Generation Physical Therapy. And then check out all of our other courses at ptonice.com. So today, what are we talking about? We're talking about some stuff to give to your patients, your athletes, your clients, your members for wrist extension. So whether it's wrist extension in the aspect of improving wrist extension for performance with activity, or maybe somebody dealing with some wrist pain, they need to improve wrist extension, maybe post-op surgery, maybe a little wrist sprain going on, maybe some elbow extensor tendinopathy, whatever they might have going on. What are some ways we can improve wrist extension? Mitch and I had a question about this on Friday about kind of what we do, and we talked about it, but we didn't show it. So I think it'll be very helpful to show the things that we do for wrist extension. So obviously I'm somebody who is in that club lacking a lot of wrist extension, more so on my right than my left. My right wrist tends to be painful with a lot of front rack and overhead stuff just because there is that asymmetry. Looking for 90-ish degrees, ideally anatomically textbook. Most folks won't have perfectly 90, but somewhere around 70, 80 degrees is functional. So does that person have full wrist extension? Do they have an asymmetry? Is it painful? If any of those boxes are checked, and I apologize for the sound quality, in the gym, fans on, by the highway, all the things that can go wrong with poor sound quality are going on. So checking those boxes on wrist extension, painful, stiff, maybe a little bit weak, what are some things we can do to start working wrist extension? And before we show the techniques, I also want to mention that if we're looking at wrist extension, especially if we're looking at an athlete who is having trouble with their front rack, we of course need to screen shoulder mobility, but we also need to screen pronation. We talked about this Friday. But does the athlete have full pronation as well? That's going to contribute to wrist extension, wrist extensibility, comfort in the front rack and overhead positions as well, in addition to just pure wrist extension. And then we need to make sure that it's actually pronation and not internal rotation. That's where a lot of folks get into trouble. They don't have full pronation, and so to get their hand palm down, they have to internally rotate that shoulder, and then we see kind of these nasty combinations where folks not only have wrist pain, but they also start to develop some shoulder pain due to kind of a combination lack of mobility and compensation, where we are now internally rotating the shoulder to get us the pronation that we need, combined with a lack of wrist extension. So make sure you're screening pronation as well. The number one thing I do is just to load up the front rack and suffer through it. Obviously that's not ideal for a lot of folks, especially if they're having acute pain that's moderate or severe in severity and irritability. But if it's low grade, if it's just kind of achy or just uncomfortable or sore, I love to load up a heavy barbell and just work ins and outs. But I want to show you some other techniques as well. So like some bands behind me set up for some different stuff on the rig. So let's get into it. We'll start with the first one, which is probably the one that you're all most familiar with, just a quadruped banded joint wrist mobility with a little bit of a stretch into extension. So let's show that. Hook up a heavier band to the bottom of a table, the bottom of a rig, something with some good thickness to it. The band is going to pull posterior when the patient or client is on all fours on quadruped. Give that posterior distraction, and then they're going to rock into closed chain extension. So let's show that one right now here. Make sure you all can see the bottom. There we go. Good. So all fours, make sure you're in that wrist crease. Get some good distraction there. We want to feel like it's pulling and distracting good on the wrist. Make sure the hand is flat. If you're up on the fingers, you're not really doing much. So hand flat, and then rock forward as much as you can. Again, keeping the hand flat. This is very similar to closed chain dorsiflexion mobility, right? If you let the hand come up, just like if you let the heel come up, you're not really mobilizing the joint. So make sure the hand is flat, and then just rock in. You'll feel some really nice clicks and pops, and rock back out. And we can work really deep into extension here. That distraction is often going to feel pretty good and alleviate a lot of pain and let somebody get deeper and deeper into closed chain extension than they would without the pull of the band. So that's probably the most common go-to. That's the one you all are probably most familiar with, but we've got some other ones as well. What I like to do is combine that with flipping the hands and adding in a flexor stretch. So adding in not only a muscle extensibility stretch to the forearm flexors, but also add in that distraction. So getting into that position, feeling that good closed chain extension. Oops. Look down. So feeling some good extension, and once you have that on board, just trying to now rotate the hand, still keeping closed chain extension, and now while rocking, keeping the palm flat, trying to work in a forearm flexor stretch as well. So combining a little bit of joint mobilization with a soft tissue stretch in a combination, that works pretty darn well. So that's what I like to progress people to. You can start off with just the mob and just the stretch until they can tolerate it pretty well, and then combine them together. That's what I like to dose out for homework. From there, I like to do a lot of eccentric lengthening and working of the forearm pronators, again with the band on the rig. So a lighter band, make sure you guys can see it. So a lot of folks who struggle with forearm pronation and are kind of stiff and limited, they're not going to be able to show you with resistance a lot of pronation, right? They're just not going to be able to get into that range of motion, and so trying to work through that very limited range of motion isn't going to get you very far. Instead, have them self-assist with the band, pull them out into supination, and then fight to control all the way back into pronation. And you'll find with that time under tension, they're much more likely to be able to move into a lot more pronation than just trying to bang into that pronation that they don't have. You can put a towel here or whatever to make sure they don't flare out and start to use their shoulder, but just doing that long, slow time under tension into pronation has a lot of good results. And then you can flip back out, add in dumbbells, add in weights, and then have them work through that pronation that they've now gained and start to strengthen through that full range of motion. The last one we'll show is kind of a combined stretch for that athlete who has tight wrists, tight overhead position with maybe lats. And so we can get a band overhead and get a good wrist distraction, some gapping on the ulnar side of the wrist, and get in some traction through the wrist and kind of work the wrist into extension as well as stretching the lats at the same time and get kind of a lot of bang for your buck. So that looks something like this. Grabbing that band overhead. A lot of you are probably familiar with doing this with a lat stretch, but instead of just focusing on the lat, really getting straight underneath, getting a lot of tension on that band, and just letting that band not only stretch your lat, but now pulling on that wrist, working out a little bit in front, so getting a good lat stretch, but now also gapping the ulnar side of that wrist and giving some good wrist traction as well. That's great for somebody that has a lot of acute wrist pain who also needs some work on their shoulder. So we're looking at a lot of stuff all at once. So I like to get that one out. I like to do this one myself as well. Feels good on my wrist, feels good on my shoulder. Working a lot of restrictions at once, especially for that person who may need to work not only on their wrist and their extension, but also on their shoulder extensibility. So those are our 4 really good techniques to get started with. You're probably all familiar with the quadruped band one, but add in that flexor stretch, Add in that combined flexor stretch and banded distraction. Add in working pronation. Make sure you're assessing pronation, working pronation eccentrically to get some range of motion, working pronation actively, and then that overhead stretch. The last thing I like to do for somebody who has a buggy wrist, whether or not they're lacking wrist extension, is just some heavy carries. If they can tolerate gripping, can we get a heavy kettlebell in their hand, work the intrinsic muscles of the hand, but also really give some good distraction through the wrist. If you think of carrying a heavy kettlebell, you're getting that pull through the wrist, and that feels really good for some folks who have wrist pain. If they can get that distraction through the wrist, as long as the gripping motion is not painful, then they can get a lot of relief with just a super heavy kettlebell pulling on their wrist while they go for a walk. The side benefits of getting their grip strength stronger, getting their hand muscles stronger, and getting their core stronger as well. So try those out. Those are what we use a lot here in the clinic, in addition to some manual techniques to get the wrist moving a lot better, to improve wrist extension, decrease pain with wrist extension, and then also help folks get a better either front rack and or overhead position using the wrist, making sure that we don't work the wrist too much. We know that if we're missing some pronation, if we're missing some overhead extensibility, then the wrist pays the price, especially with things like a front squat, things like a snatch or overhead squat. When the shoulders are not up to par, the wrist pays the price, so folks can get a flared up wrist pretty quickly with things like front squats, overhead squats, and snatches. So try those out. Hope to see you all here on Thursday. I'll be back talking about Independence Day on 4th of July. Hope you're having a great week so far. Buy that t-shirt if you haven't yet. Check out Virtual Ice. We've got Amy Pakula on tonight talking about how to structure your objective exam on Virtual Ice. Virtual Ice Year 3 just started last week, so don't forget to hop into that if you're looking to get some CEUs from home, get connected more with the ICE faculty, learn from the ICE faculty from the comfort of your couch, especially in this hot weather. Sit in the AC, enjoy a nice cold drink, or maybe sit on the patio and listen to us rap with you on Tuesday evenings. So have a great Tuesday. Hope those help. See you all next time.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to the PT on Ice Daily Show. If you enjoyed this content, head on over to iTunes and leave us a review. And be sure to check us out on Facebook and Instagram at the Institute of Clinical Excellence. If you're interested in getting plugged into more ICE content on a weekly basis while earning CEUs from home, check out our Virtual ICE online mentorship program at ptonice.com. While you're there, sign up for our Hump Day Hustling newsletter for a free email every Wednesday morning with our top 5 research articles and social media posts that we think are worth reading. Head over to ptonice.com and scroll to the bottom of the page to sign up.